Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Let's come back to the story with which we started the show, which is the idea that two developments within policing, 11% success rate, or whatever you want to call it, with the stop and search, a huge increase, but people being found with weapons, drugs, or whatever else might be required. And also police officers having to ask 44 questions before they apply handcuffs. Marianne in Oxford. Marianne, it's I think on that aspect you want to make your point. Good morning.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling me.
Yeah. So basically, the premise of the 44 questions does have a correlation to healthcare, to any healthcare professional situation. With regard to the question that is asked, is what you don't know, is actually one of the most important questions you can ask yourself when you approach any situation. You know, if a patient collapses in front of me, I know they've collapsed. What I don't know is why they've collapsed. So it's all about risk assessment. It's about, is it safe to approach the patient? Is it, why have they, collapsed?
For a police officer, he or she in some instances doesn't have that time. There might be someone who's violent. There might be someone who's threatening his life, others' lives, their life, someone's life. Have you got time to go through all of that?
You do it mentally in your head. It's something that intuitively you do. It's something that is learnt over time, definitely.
When has it helped you, lastly? Did you say you're a nurse or a sister? Sorry.
I'm a cancer nurse. Yes, I'm a cancer nurse.
Give me lastly an instance when it's helped you, that you've thought, actually, what don't I know about this man or this woman or whatever?
Well, I think it could be anybody. I'm off to work now. Anybody that comes in the centre that might not be a patient that collapses in front of me. So I don't know the person. They could have just walked in the centre. They could have taken, some drugs that I don't know about.
Okay.
And they could have collapsed because of that. So
I see what you're saying, Marion. I won't deter you or delay you any longer. I'm sorry from getting off and doing your work on the wards. Thank you very much for what you do, and thank you for your input as well on that one. I just wonder what police officers make of that. We might try and return to that in a moment. It's 8 minutes before 8. Let's return to the conversation about the changes then in the integrated rail plan. Much being made of this rail investment, but according to some headlines, fury, particularly in parts of the north, to address that now. Secretary of State for Transport Grant Shapps joined me. Mr. Shapps, perhaps we can start, if I may take you back to July 2019 and these words from the Prime Minister.
Today, I am going to deliver on my commitment with a pledge to fund the Leeds to Manchester route. And I know that's the bit that you particularly want.
Another broken promise, Mr. Shapps.
No, that bit is being funded to the tune of £23 billion.
But not through HS2.
Well, I didn't hear him say through HS2 in that quote, but actually it will be, as it so happens, with the inclusion for part of it through high-speed rail. So yes, in fact, it will be.
But the whole idea, I understood, of HS2 was that once we did the London to Birmingham run, as it were, we would then link in the big northern cities such as Manchester, Sheffield and Leeds through HS2. Yes. That's now not to happen.
So it is going to happen. What we're doing,
but not through HS2, Secretary of State.
Well, I've just explained. HS2 is high-speed rail, so it will be, in fact, high-speed. I'm in Manchester right now, from Warrington across to the west of Yorkshire. Will be a high-speed rail. You're right; it will include upgrades and improvements to increase capacity elsewhere, and the whole thing will be delivered ahead of schedule. So this will be a pledge that's actually delivered before it was originally envisaged, which wasn't until the 2040s. This will now come this decade.
Well, if you won't take it from me, let me perhaps share with you. You've managed to unite, I would suggest, your party, not all of them, but many in opposition. Edward Lee, this was always a white elephant. Now it's a white elephant missing.
Well, he's never been a supporter of HS2.
It's now a white elephant missing a leg. Hugh Merriman, who is quite an influential Conservative MP, he sits on the Transport Committee, indeed he chairs it, says that this is lives in Leeds and Bradford may be forgiven for viewing this as neither. It's not HS2, it's not Northern Powerhouse. It was neither an or either or option. This is the danger in selling perpetual sunlight and leaving others to explain the arrival of moonlight. That's your job today, isn't it, Mr. Shapps?
No, because actually, put all these names aside, HS2, NPR, all this other stuff, IRP. What people care about, how long will it take me to get from Manchester to Leeds? Answer, with this plan, around 30 minutes, 33 minutes to get from Manchester, where I am now, to Leeds in 33 minutes. If you're, want to go across to Liverpool, that will be similarly a journey time slashed to 35 minutes. It takes over 50 minutes right now. If you're in Bradford and you want to get to Leeds, it will be a journey time of 12 minutes. So actually what we're doing is delivering, and not only delivering on the pledge to sort out not just the speed of trains, but the reliability and the capacity. So we'll have 3 times more capacity on that northern powerhouse line, if you like. We're doing it decades earlier than originally planned.
So all your colleagues are wrong.
I think there's been a bit of misunderstanding. Unfortunately, as often happens with these things, rumours of what was in the Integrated Rail Plan got out ahead of time. If you download the Integrated Rail Plan and you happen to be in Birmingham this morning, you'll be pleased to see that the original HS2 plan, for example, envisaged a 55-minute. At the moment, it takes an hour and a quarter to get from Birmingham to Nottingham. The original HS2 plan would have given it to you in 55 minutes. Actually, this new plan will give it to you in 26 minutes. You'll be able to go city centre to city centre, Birmingham to Nottingham, in 26 minutes. This is actually an improvement on the previous plan, and that part includes high-speed rail HS2 as well.
If it's such a standout success, why was so much energy expended on the initial plan?
Well, remember the initial plan for HS2, designed 10, 15 years ago, was done before the Northern Powerhouse was a thing. It hadn't been invented, if you like. Before Midlands Hub was a thing. That's the plan to link up the Midlands. And so what the Integrated Rail Plan has done is taken the Northern Powerhouse, the Midlands part of it, and linked it all together with HS2 as well. So this is a much more integrated plan. And by the way, frankly, this now delivers for a lot more towns and cities than would have otherwise been advantaged. So, if you're in Doncaster or Huddersfield, Dewsbury, many other places, you will now get services that were never envisaged under the original plan. So this, in many ways, is much better.
And still levelling up?
Sorry, the line dropped out.
Sorry, and it's still part of the levelling up policy?
Very much. Very, very much so. So if you're in Bradford this morning, knowing you can travel to Leeds in 12 minutes, well, that's London-style commuting in the north between 2 of our great northern cities. And I think that is very much what we mean when we say levelling up.
A couple of other issues while I have the benefit of you on the line. To motoring, virtually all use of mobile phones at the wheel will be banned from next year. Guilty motorists facing 6 points on their licence and a £200 fine. Can I use my mobile if I'm parked?
If you're parked and the engine's off, you can use it. And there's one other exception. You're absolutely right. We're toughening this up. Too many accidents take place because people are messing with their phones. And there have been some recent celebrated court cases, or infamous court cases, I should say, where people have used their mobile phones and argued it wasn't to make a call. They were taking a photo, so that was okay. And there was a bit of a loophole. This tightens it up. The one place where we're being helpful and pragmatic is if you go through a drive-through and you're paying contactlessly. You don't have to switch off the engine before making that payment. So there's a bit of common sense involved in this, but you would, of course, be stationary at that point.
Smart motorways, where are we on those, Secretary of State?
Yes, the Select Committee for Transport reported on them. I thought it was an excellent report just a couple of weeks ago. They have asked a whole range of questions. We're studying that now. We'll be coming back to them in the new year. I think it's the 10th of January. We'll be coming back to them and saying more. As I've discussed with you many times before, we're very keen to follow the data and follow the details so that we can save lives wherever we can and have all our roads, including those smart motorways, as safe as possible. So I will be coming back with a full response to them.
Are they any currently under construction, or has everything been paused?
No, there are some which are in flight, as they describe it, under construction, and it would be dangerous to simply stop them. You end up with a lot of bollards and cones. These things take years of planning. So we've got to be careful the way that we do this. Well, one of the recommendations in the Select Committee report is with regard to whether we should wait and get more data, more years of data. It's one of the suggestions I'm looking at very seriously. As you and I know, because we've exchanged details on this before on your programme, actually there's a lot of different views and evidence on the data, including the Office for Rail and Road, who are an independent regulator, who've said that actually the data tends to suggest that they're the safest of our roads. Nonetheless, I recognise as Transport Secretary, people are concerned about driving on them. We need to get to the bottom of that, and I'm taking the recommendations in the Select Committee's report very seriously indeed.
Last couple of things. Noting you are in Manchester, I just want to talk to you about London. Buses in London could be cut by a fifth, tubes by a tenth, because of a near £2 billion funding black hole, London Mayor Sadiq Khan has warned. Secretary of State.
I think what we're seeing, I've already given the Transport for London, the Mayor, over £4 billion, £4.1 billion to keep the network running. Of course, coronavirus has had a big impact. I think what we're seeing there is a bit of public lobbying in advance of the next settlement, which takes place in December. So, people can see we've stepped up to the plate and been able to keep London Transport, TfL, running. Really important that the Mayor does his part, addresses some of the, for example, terms and conditions of pensions, where the taxpayer is paying a lot of money in. We need to make sure that this is run in a manner which not just benefits Londoners, but actually the rest of the taxpayers in the UK as well.
Well, I wonder if you, like many of my listeners, question the wisdom of Transport for London offering senior staff or executives more than £12 million a year in bonuses.
Well, I do question all of those things, and I think we've got to be realistic given the times that we're living in with some of these terms and conditions, and also we want the Mayor to actually be collecting fares properly, being efficient with the way that he runs the system as well. So, of course, there's a lot to be done there.
Lastly, I have to tell you, as I'm sure you're aware, you feature among some senior Conservatives who referred firms to the VIP lane for lucrative COVID contracts. I read that you referred iSpace Eyewear, which subsequently got a deal worth £1.4 million to provide goggles. Was all necessary routine and procedures followed there, Secretary of State?
Absolutely 100%. And I can actually tell you, this was simply a matter of a constituent writing to me to say, what do I do? We're a company who produce whatever. What do I do? I forwarded the email on, as we were instructed to do, to officials who then took over from there. I made no comment.
And no benefit accrues? Absolutely
none whatsoever. And by the way, exactly what a constituency MP should do. We were all being asked to pass on any contacts that contacted us, constituents in this particular case, who contacted me, never heard from before, sent it off, never heard afterwards, and it was news to me that they even won the contract.
Grateful for your time, Grant Shapps, Transport Secretary, appearing here on LBC. We're at 8 minutes. The news is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom, 2 children and 2 women have died following a fire at a house